Welcome to the Paul Gauguin exhibition at the Houston Museum of Art in Houston, Texas. In the first room, we see this painting he did at age 28. He establishes a conventional understanding of composition, tone, balance, subject, and color. A few years later, he progressed to a style where the objects have individual presence. This one kind of marks his changing priorities. He's more interested in the still life than the social interaction. He sought out Camille Pissarro, the Impressionist, and worked closely with him to develop his style and learn about painting. Here's kind of a novel, trendy subject. Here's one of his early wood carvings. In this one, the women are safely balanced on the sand while the man has ventured into the sea. With 5 children, Gauguin wanted to support his family, and this is a commercial painting trying to fit into the commercial impressionist market. Competing with leaders Monet, Renoir, Pissarro was very difficult. He felt humiliated by his lack of income. His wife's sister married a more successful painter. He was discouraged but confident, and that self-portrait shows his commitment to art. He begins to develop his own pictorial path by concentrating on his view of the world, moving beyond the impressionist technique. He already has an original style. A more original type of self-portrait where he's embedded in the landscape. Contemplating women, this portrait of Madeleine Bernard. She was much younger than Gauguin, and he was attracted to her, but he kept his distance and called her sister. This painting was done in sunny Arles. Gauguin was 5 years older than Vincent. I think Gauguin wanted to distinguish himself from the Impressionists and the Impressionist market, so he kind of kept working on these original reds, and his colors are just very unique. Gauguin's early years were spent in Peru, and the contrasts and the civilizations led him to have a kind of a disgust for European society and capitalism. So his journey towards living in a primitive life led him to Brittany and the town of Pont-Aven. Here are some woodcuts that he did from memory. This one was painted on the wall of a restaurant in Pont-Aven. And one thing I noticed was the dog at the bottom here. And that is one thing that distinguishes himself from the other Impressionists and Van Gogh, that he paints animals in his paintings, more so than other painters. Here's this strange red hat, distinctive headdress of the women there. Now we introduce you to his ceramics. And here they are in the center of the room. These are more for decorative ceramics. He has a very delicate touch here. So the commercial market for these is small and very specialized. A delightfully relaxed girl. Here are some examples of ceramics that Gauguin may have seen when he lived in Peru as a child and inspired him. I think this one would make a great public sculpture. Life was hard, and he compared his journey to Jesus Christ. From an artist colony in Brittany, he wrote, "My reputation grows bigger every day, but meanwhile I go 3 days without eating, which destroys my health and my energy." He migrated to Tahiti, and he told himself, "The Tahitians are happy inhabitants of the unknown paradise of Oceania and experience the sweet things in life. For them, living means singing and loving." Back in France, he resumed his Impressionist style. So now that he has enough experience to compare the primitive life to civilized life, and he prefers life in Oceania, he sought commercial success, but only on his own stubborn path. Here's some pigs. Strict perspective is an attribute of Parisian art, and he refused to follow its strict rules. So these paintings are very original and probably shocked many people in Paris. Since he was always rejected, why not do what he wants to do? He thought a lot about making his colors harmonious, just like a composer uses chords and notes to make harmony in a symphony. On his trip to Tahiti, he became friends with a small boy, and unfortunately, the boy died at a very young age. And this painting shows that boy. Now carving statues, this one called Lust, which percolated as one of his main themes before his death. At the left is a dagger. In this self portrait, he's thinking, why are we here? As his South Sea identity blossomed, his criticism of civilized Europe increased. He liked to shock, and when he wrote about tribal cannibalism, he wrote, "Civilized people, you're proud of not eating flesh. On a raft, you would eat it, and every day you eat your neighbor's heart." I can almost hear the ocean in the background here. He was desperate for money, but he couldn't enforce the promises that people had made to send him money. He remembered what his wife, Met, had told him: "You must get out of your trouble by yourself." He wrote, "I always was wrong to believe in decency." So his writing was very caustic and often toxic. But we also know that he was drinking and partying with women. It's kind of a dreamy utopia. Here is a video showing his printing process of inking and laying down the paper and making the print. To the left, we have this wonderful painting of a man with a cello. Now, the color of the cello today is the same as the color of a cello in Gauguin's time. And so you can see how much he exaggerated the color to make a pleasing painting. And notice these greenish leaves to bounce off the color of the cello. Now, another way to interpret his paintings is to think about the symbolism, like this severed head, and his views on Christianity and tribal life. Even though he was a lusty man in Oceania, he wrote, "I do not know how to love. To say I love you would break my teeth. So much to show you that I'm anything but a poet. A poet without love?" Knowing how to draw is not the same as drawing well. Here is a reference to Manet's shocking painting of Olympia. So Gauguin is competing with Manet. This one shows movement without action. He tried to commit suicide, and then the idea for his masterpiece appeared to him. It seems like his skin has a greenish hue, and he replaces shadows with gradations of color. He saw the failings of the natives, but he saw them as noble because they were closer to humans in their natural state. Rousseau wrote that man is born free and everywhere in chains. Gauguin in the South Seas saw humans born free and living free. Yes, they were abused by colonial governments who ignored their freedoms for capitalist selfishness. Here's some practical wood items like spoons and a cane. Why are we here? For a painter, the answer is to see the world and express his soul. Sometimes he had doubts, and he said, "I do not always see myself clearly." He was interested in other religions, the tribal, Christianity, and here is an image of a Buddha. He was conflicted about Christianity because he saw himself as Christ, but he also saw how the church overpowered the natives and with their clumsy and unjust coercion. He had painful eczema on his legs and money was tight. He moved to a cheaper island and built a house of pleasure. This is a satirical totem of a colonial official. This one of sunflowers was a remembrance of the glowing Vincent. Vincent's decline was a painful experience for Gauguin. This one takes the common Christian icon of mother and child, but this is a dark-skinned family. And so another beautiful, ironic blasphemy of Paul Gauguin. Mysteriously and enigmatically, these last paintings painted in the South Seas are paintings of snowy days in France. So that's the end of the exhibition. Thanks for watching.